All right, everybody. So, quick question. How great of a player do you think Bill Russell was? If you had to start ranking players all time, where would you put him at? I see lists today sometimes that don't even have Bill Russell in their top 10. I don't know why. But I understand that people will say things like, Bill Russell couldn't play today. Look who he played with. Look at what era he played in. Look at his stats. He only averaged 15 points and, he was only really good on defense. They had a stacked team, yada, yada, yada. So that's what led me to do a video on him today because, honestly, it's pretty disrespectful to put Bill Russell, a player that accomplished so much in his career, so low in an all-time ranking. But people do it, and people don't understand how to assess his greatness because it's not even all about the numbers he put up. It's about him understanding the team concept, and it's about the intangibles. It's about his presence. It's about his impact. It's about his leadership. Not only did he win 11 championships, but ask his peers that played alongside him how great he was. This man was voted the MVP 5 times, and that was back in the day when players voted for the MVP. This is a player that won 11 championships and was a coach of those teams for the last 3. So, with that being said, I think people underestimate his overall value, but that's what my videos are for. And if you guys are not educated on Bill Russell already, you'll be educated today. So let's get started. All right, so let me start by saying this first. Bill Russell, he grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, and during his time period when he was growing up, he dealt with a lot of racism. He witnessed his mother and his father deal with a lot of racism when he was growing up as well. And during the time of World War II, a lot of people of color, they ended up moving to California where they could find more work. And that's where his father ended up moving their family to. And by the age of 12 years old, Bill Russell's mother died. And that was another big blow emotionally to his life at the time. So Bill Russell had to endure a lot of things growing up as a child into a young man. But that just goes to show that even though a lot of serious things can go wrong in your life, they can really affect you mentally and spiritually. You can either go 2 ways. Either it can break you down or it can build you up. And Bill Russell was able to persevere through that and still end up, becoming very successful with his life. And Bill Russell from the jump, he was not a standout player for basketball. He actually was cut from his junior high school team. And then when he was in high school, he didn't make the team until his sophomore year. And, of course, he showed a lot of great heart. He played hard on defense. He hustled. But offensively, he was limited. He was still developing his overall skill set. So he wasn't really a high-impact player in his early years playing basketball, but he was a hustle player. He played hard, and he had great impact on the team. And his team, that being McClemens High School, by the way, they were able to win 2 state championships with him on the team. And then after he graduated high school, a lot of people passed over him. They didn't really view him as a top prospect. But the coach for the University of San Francisco saw what potential he had, and he ended up going to attend that school for college basketball. And he played 3 seasons there, and he excelled there greatly. He was able to help that team win 56 consecutive victories and 2 national championships, and he averaged a 20-point double-double, 20 points and 20 rebounds for his career with the University of San Francisco. And in 1955, he was named the most outstanding player for the NCAA tournament as well. So in 1956, he was drafted by the Boston Celtics, and he proved to be the missing piece they needed because his first year on the squad, they were able to win their first championship. And his teammates consist of Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn, Bill Sharman. They had a great group of players, but they were missing a player in the paint that could dominate on the defensive end and grab a lot of rebounds. And that's what Bill Russell was able to do. So he was able to impact that team immediately and make them a championship team. And the next year, in the 57-58 season, they made it back to the finals again, where they would lose to the St. Louis Hawks featuring Bob Pettit, who was their superstar player. Now, that was the team the year before that they beat in 7 games, but they came back and beat them in 6 games the next year. But Bill Russell missed the last 2 games of that series. So that definitely they definitely took a major hit with him going down due to injury, and they ended up losing in 6 games. So that would be the only finals that Bill Russell participated in that his team was not victorious. And from that point onward, from the 1958 season all the way to the 1966 season, those 8 straight seasons, they won 8 straight championships. Bill Russell and the Celtics did. And usually the teams they would match up against would be teams like the St. Louis Hawks, once again with Bob Pettit, or at the time, the Minneapolis Lakers that ended up becoming the Los Angeles Lakers with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. One of those seasons, they played the San Francisco Warriors, led by Wilt Chamberlain. And there was some series where they were able to easily win. There was also some competitive series as well that went all the way to Game 7. For example, in the 1960 finals against the St. Louis Hawks, it was a competitive 7-game series. Bill Russell in that series averaged over 16 points and almost 25 rebounds. And in the final game, Game 7, he had his best game where he scored 22 points and grabbed 35 rebounds in that game. Now, of course, once again, the NBA Finals MVP was not awarded back then, but please keep in mind the MVP award, if I didn't say this already, it's named after Bill Russell for a reason. A lot of times in pivotal moments, Bill Russell had his greatest performances. In 1962, in the NBA Finals, the series went 7 games again with the LA Lakers this time. And in that series, Bill Russell led his team in scoring throughout the entire series, averaging 23 points per game. And he also grabbed 27 rebounds a game, led his team in rebounding. And in Game 7, he scored 30 points and grabbed 40 rebounds to help them clinch the series. So that was another outstanding performance for Bill Russell in a pivotal moment where he showed out. In 1966, they had another series again with the Lakers that went 7 games. In that series again, Bill Russell led his team in scoring, averaging 23.5 points per game, grabbing 24.5 rebounds per game. And in the pivotal game, Game 7, he had one of his best games, scoring 25 points and grabbing 32 rebounds. So that capped off their 8th straight championship. And of course, in total, he had 9 championships at the time. And then in the 67 season, they were knocked out of the playoffs by Wilt Chamberlain and the Philadelphia 76ers in a series where Bill Russell offensively did not do that well, but of course he was still dominant on the boards. Wilt Chamberlain had a dominant series where he averaged a triple-double. And I think it was something along the lines of 21 points, 30 rebounds, and 10 assists. He was extremely dominant, and that was his season, and they ended up going on to win the championship. That was the only time in the playoffs that Bill Russell lost to Wilt Chamberlain head-to-head. He was 7-1 against him in playoff matchups. In the 68 and 69 season, Bill Russell and the Celtics were able to bounce back. Of course, John Havlicek was on the team as well. And let me not forget to mention, they also had a standout shooting guard by the name of Sam Jones. He had been on the team for a little while now. I just wanted to mention some of these players because these are some of the Hall of Fame players that Bill Russell played with. But with that being said, in the 68 season and the 69 season, Bill Russell was able to finish his career with 2 more championships to give him 11 for his career. They beat the LA Lakers both of those seasons. And Wilt Chamberlain was on the Los Angeles Lakers for the 69 season. He was traded to that team. They felt like he was the missing piece that they needed. They had not won anything in the 60s decade facing off against Bill Russell and the Celtics. Yet they still were not able to get it done. That series went to 7 games, and the Celtics were able to seal the deal in Game 7. And as I said earlier, the last 3 seasons that Bill Russell was on the Celtics, he was the coach of that team. So he was the coach of those last 2 championship teams that the Celtics won. And Bill Russell was the only player on the Celtics for those 11 championships that was there the whole time in the 60s decade, starting in the late 50s into the late 60s. He was the only player there the whole time. He's the only player on that team that has 11 rings. So that goes to show you that he was the constant in that team's success, and he had the most impact on that team's success, which he did. And that is why, in my opinion, you can make a strong argument that Bill Russell is the greatest player in NBA history. A lot of people might not understand that. They might not respect that, but it is what it is. I do understand that there was less teams in that era. I do understand that there were less rounds to get to the finals in that era, but even still, there were still 82-game seasons. There were still outstandingly great players in that era that he faced night in and night out. And once again, back in that time period when the players voted for the MVP award, he was voted the MVP 5 times. That is the most during that time period. One more than even Wilt Chamberlain received. So Bill Russell was a standout player. Of course, if there was a Defensive Player of the Year award back then, I promise you Bill Russell would have won that award probably every single season. All right. They did not even track steals and blocks back then. But there are records that you can find with Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain where they had many games where they had 8, 9, 10, 12 blocks and up. So that just goes to show you that Bill Russell, he cannot be forgotten about in NBA history. He deserves more respect than he gets. And that's why I felt compelled to make a video about him today, because I wanted to display what he was able to accomplish in his career individually and team success-wise as well. So once again, if you people that are following my channel did not know too much about Bill Russell already and were not informed about his greatness, hopefully you did learn a lot today. I appreciate everybody that has been viewing my channel and supporting my videos thus far. There is more to come. I wish everybody the best. Have a blessed day. All glory be to God.